Hello, 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 hello. We are live. We are live. I am live. I'm Jennifer Nascimento, and I'm here today teaching you more everyday English skills. Welcome back to your everyday English lesson. If you are joining me for the first time, I'm so happy to have you. Welcome, welcome. My name is Jennifer Nascimento, and I'm the teacher at English Outside the Box. Now, I mentioned that this live lesson is called an everyday English lesson because they are lessons that are going to help you in your everyday English skills. These are skills in English that you need to use on a day-to-day basis. So if you work, study, or live in an English-speaking environment, then these are the lessons for you. They're definitely going to help you speak more comfortably, more confidently, and more naturally. So if you're just joining me, I want to know where you're joining me from. I see Malaysia. Welcome, welcome. And I would love to see some examples of subject and object questions because that's what we're talking about today. This is question month. Technically, today is August 1st, so it's a new month. However, last week, the last couple weeks, we talked a lot about questions. We've reviewed basic question structure. We've talked about embedded questions, a little bit about indirect questions. So make sure you check out the other videos on this channel and my website, EnglishOutsideTheBox.com, for more English lessons. Today, we're talking about subject and object questions. And we're talking about this because a lot of students confuse this or mess it up or maybe don't understand some of the structure and why some questions look a little different. So we're going to talk and compare. We're going to talk about and compare two questions. So if you're watching live, definitely try to write what you hear me say. If you're watching the replay, you can write down what you hear me say, and then we're going to analyze it together. So we're going to look at the question, who did you call? Who'd you call? And who called you? Who called you? And you can definitely notice the difference in pronunciation there. All right. So one more time, we're going to compare who'd you call and who called you. Now, talking a little bit about what subject and object questions are. First, what are questions? Questions are what we ask to get more information about something. Sometimes we ask questions that will give us the subject, meaning the answer, the information that we need is the subject of the sentence. Sometimes we ask questions that it's going to give us the object of the answer. The answer is going to be the object of a sentence. Now, a quick reminder, remember, the subject is the person or the thing doing an action. It comes at the beginning of a sentence, and an object normally comes at the end or comes after a verb, and the object of a sentence is the person or thing receiving the action. Most commonly, you're going to use questions that ask about the object. You're getting extra information. You're getting more details about something. You know the subject, you know who did the action, you want the extra details, the object. For example, in the examples I gave earlier, who did you call? Who'd you call? Who'd you call? This is an example of an object question. The answer could be, I called Paulo. I, the subject, called, verb, Paulo, the object. Now again, this might seem like it's a little easy because object questions are what you're most likely the most familiar with. Notice the structure of this object question. We have the question word, who. We have the auxiliary verb, did. We have the subject, you, and the main verb, call. Who'd you call? Object question, who'd you call? The answer is I called Paulo. Paulo is the answer, and that is the object of that sentence. Object questions are going to use all of the question words: who, what, where, when, how, why, etc. So object questions, again, are the most familiar. You're going to have the question word, the auxiliary, the subject, and the main verb. So I would love right now, if you're watching live, if you're watching the replay, write in the live chat or comment below this video and try to give me some examples of an object question. An object question. You can use a variety of time tenses and a variety of question words. Remember, the structure of an object question is question word, who, what, where, when, how, why, plus the auxiliary, the subject, and the main verb. While you're thinking of your own examples, while you're writing some of your own examples, I'm going to also give some examples that you can listen to, think about, and maybe even use in your own conversations. All right, so we have question words where. For example, where'd you go? Where'd you go? When'd she leave? When'd she leave? How are you feeling? How are you feeling? What'd they do last night? What'd they do last night? Why are you learning English? Why are you learning English? Notice that all of these questions had some form of an auxiliary and it had a subject. A lot of these questions were in the past tense. I used did as the auxiliary. However, there were other forms, other tenses as well. Also, side note for you to think about, especially if you're watching the replay, listen to the pronunciation of the did and you. For example, where did you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? But we're not going to talk about pronunciation. That's just a little note. So notice that all of these had the question word, the auxiliary, the subject, and the verb. An example from the live chat, where do you come from? I come from the United States. Perfect example. Object questions. These are the most familiar. Let's talk a little bit about subject questions now. Sometimes we don't know the subject. We don't know who did the action, or what did the action, or what the subject, the main idea of a sentence is. When we don't have that information, we need it. And we get it by asking a question, and we get it by asking a subject question. In the beginning of this video, I gave the example of who called you? Who called you? Who called you? Who called you? Now, notice the main difference in the sentence, who did you call, and who called you, is the auxiliary and the verb and the subject. So really, the structure is completely different. With subject questions, we have our question word. However, the question words are only who and what. Who and what. So who called you? Who called you? Notice the structure. We have a question word, the verb, and then the object. Okay? Because we do not have an auxiliary, the main verb in that question needs to change to match the time tense. In my examples, I'm using the past tense. So in the object question, who did you call? The auxiliary is what's in the past. Who did you call? The main verb is always the base verb. However, in a subject question, notice the main verb is conjugated. It is changed to match the time tense. So, who called you? Paulo called me. Paulo is now the subject of that sentence. I asked about who called you? Paulo. Paulo called me. Paulo is the subject of that sentence and why it's a subject question. Some examples. Who called Jennifer? Yes. Who is the one doing this live lesson? Luis Carlos de Souza. Who is the one doing this live lesson? I am the one doing this live lesson. Perfect example of another subject question. Now, as I mentioned, subject questions can only use the question word who and what because it's asking for the subject of that sentence, the person or the thing that did the action or the main idea. So another example, what happened last night? What happened last night? It rained, or a storm happened. A storm came through. A storm passed by. So those are some sample answers, but a question for what? What happened last night? Another example using the question word what is, what helps you learn English? What helps you learn English? And I would love to know. I would love you to tell me in the comments or in the live chat. What helps you learn English? And so notice what helps you learn English. We have our question word, our main verb, because it's the simple present tense, we keep it helps. What helps you? And then we have the object you and the rest of the sentence. Possible answers. These videos help you learn English. YouTube helps you learn English. Online classes or online courses help you learn English. Who helps you learn English? Jennifer helps you learn English. So these are some more examples of subject questions with who or what. Who or what? What is the soccer team that rules the soccer world? Leva Santos says, what is the soccer team that rules the soccer world? I don't know that answer. I know Levas is from Brazil, so we can say Brazil rules the soccer world. Brazil rules the soccer world. Great example of the subject question. Oh, but the answer was Germany. Germany rules the soccer world. Sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody. I don't know soccer, so we're not going to talk about that. So notice again that main difference of an object and a subject question is going to be that a subject question can only have who or what as the question words. You're not going to have an auxiliary. And the main verb is going to be what is changed, what is conjugated. All right? So can we think of some more examples? Remember, after this lesson, you are going to be able to review these lesson notes. I know sometimes I may speak really quickly, or you may not pick up, get, or understand an example that I use, but that's okay. These live lessons are for you to practice your listening comprehension and follow along like you were in a classroom with me or at a cafe learning with me. You practice listening comprehension. Sometimes I ask you to write down what you hear, so you'll practice your typing or your writing. But if you need to review the lesson notes, if you need to read more examples, and if you want to get the practice exercises, you've got to go to my blog after the lesson to review it. If you're new, just in case, the website to review these notes, you're going to go to EnglishOutsideTheBox.com. Now, you can click blog and free lessons at the top of the homepage, or in your browser, you can type EnglishOutsideTheBox.com/blog, B-L-O-G. And that learning blog is where you can review, again, these lesson notes and hundreds of lesson notes and other English videos, English lessons, etc. Okay, so let's give some more examples. I'm going to read some of the questions from the live chat, okay? I'm going to read some questions from the live chat, maybe make some corrections, and that's the beauty of joining me live. You can write your own sentence examples, and you can get feedback like that. So here are some examples of more subject questions using who and what. Who wants a drink? Who wants a drink? I want a drink. Pauline wants a drink. Okay, who wants a drink? And notice this is in the simple present tense. Who wants? All right, we have who is the one that's following you on Twitter? Who is the one that's following you on Twitter? So this example and Louise's example earlier, who is the one doing this live lesson? That sentence structure is okay. You can include the one. Who is the one? However, it's not necessary. You could simply say, who is doing this live lesson? Who is doing this live lesson? Or who is following you on Twitter? Who is following you on Twitter? And then you can simply answer, Jennifer is doing the live lesson, or Ashley is following you on Twitter. Ashley is following you on Twitter. And this is an example of the present continuous or the present progressive tense. Same thing with who is the one that killed Voldemort? Who killed Voldemort? We don't always need to have the one, because when we ask a question word with who, that's indicating the one or the person. So the one is not wrong, but again, it's not necessary. Who killed Voldemort? I have to admit, I don't know that answer. Abdul has another example of an object question. When did you sign up on here? When did you sign up on here? This is an example of an object question, because remember, subject questions can only use who or what, when, where, why, and all of those extra information and extra details are object questions with an auxiliary. When did you sign up? I signed up today. And you make sure you subscribe and sign up to this channel today if you haven't already. Beautiful questions coming in the live chat. Who likes the song Somebody That I Used to Know? So this is a song highlighted in the Phrasal Verb Conversation Club this month. And who likes that song? Who likes the song Somebody That I Used to Know? I like that song. That's why I put it in the Phrasal Verb Club materials. What causes happiness? What causes happiness? Gosh, these are beautiful questions. Abdul, again, you are coming through with object questions, which is excellent. You can absolutely practice with object questions because this lesson is subject and object questions. I'm focusing a little more on the subject questions because they're often a little bit more confusing. However, Abdul QA, how often do you do this live lesson? This is asking for extra information about me, the subject, doing the live lesson. So how often do you do the live lesson? We can analyze this again as an object question. Question word, how often? Auxiliary, do. Subject, you. Main verb, do. And the rest of the sentence, the extra information, this live lesson. How often do you do this live lesson? I do this live lesson every Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. PST, which is Los Angeles time. So notice the subject, I, verb, do this live lesson, and then the object to the extra information every Tuesday at this time. What is the meaning of life? Great question. What is the best English podcast ever? Levas, I like where you're going with that. What is the best English podcast ever? English Across the Pond is the best English podcast ever. Absolutely. So great examples of these subject questions with who and what. Who likes the song? Who called you? Who is teaching this live lesson? Who will share this lesson later? So here's an example of a future subject question. Who will share this lesson later? Who will share this lesson later? Present perfect subject question example. Who has visited California? Who has visited California? Okay, so we've done a simple present. We've done present continuous. We've done future. We've done present perfect. We can also use modals as the auxiliary. For example, who can help me? I need help. Who can help me? Who can help me? Paulo can help me. So notice the sentence. Paulo can help me. Paulo is the subject, so it's a subject question. Who can help me? Paulo can help me. Another subject example, who gave you that money? Awesome. Abdul, another subject, Abdul, another object question. Who did you meet before the lesson? Who did you meet before the lesson? Object question. I met Louisa before the lesson. I met her. Object answer, object question. We are going to wrap up this live lesson. We are going to wrap up, meaning we are going to finish this live lesson because I want to give you the opportunity to watch the replay, read the lesson notes, and learn more and practice more about this. So practice makes perfect. On my website in an hour or so, in a little while on my website, you're going to be able to review the lesson notes, the sentence examples, and get practice exercises. Practice exercises. These practice exercises are going to help you practice and review what you've learned today. So in the practice makes perfect section of this lesson, you are going to see some answers that you need to create subject and object questions for. For example, you might see the sentence, Jennifer called Paulo. You need to write a subject and an object question for that answer. Jennifer called Paulo. So you could have a subject question and an object question. Who called Paulo? Who? Yeah, you got it. All right. I need to write that down. So the answer was Jennifer called Paulo. Now I forgot what I said. Let me see. So Jennifer called Paulo was the answer. So who did Jennifer call? Object question. Who did Jennifer call? Or who called Paulo? Subject question. Got it. So as we wrap it up, I'm going to read the final questions to give the live lesson watchers feedback. Who follows Jennifer everywhere? Subject question. Who stole our grandma's necklace? Perfect. Subject question. Paulo must help you, yes. Who is about to leave? Subject question. Abdul, awesome subject question. Who gave up on learning English? Who is interested in practicing English on Skype? Awesome. Great, great job, everybody. Thank you for joining me in this live everyday English lesson and learning English with me today. Thanks for reviewing and participating and writing your sentence examples, your question examples in the live lesson. Join me live every Tuesday at this same time, 8:30 a.m. PST. That's the Pacific time zone in Los Angeles' time zone on the west coast of the US. You can join me live every Tuesday at 8:30 to learn more with me, practice, get some feedback, and improve your everyday English skills. If you're watching the replay, you can definitely still comment below this video with some examples, your own practice exercises and sentences for some extra feedback, and I'll comment when I can. Don't forget to head over to English Outside the Box soon to review the lesson notes. Subscribe to this channel, share it with anyone learning English, and I thank you so, so much. You guys rock, and I will see you very soon. Happy studying.